Alright, I think we're live. It looks like we're live. Welcome to the Brews at 10 on my left eye. I'm your host Lefty. A very warm welcome to everybody on the stream. How you brewing, people? Floor Snake was first in this evening. I have Graham Turner, JK, Doc Davies, Idiosyncrasy as well, Sneaky Fish. This is certainly where you can get some under-the-counter socialism, you know, the really good shit. Yeah. It's all right here. You're in the right place. Just the second Brews at 10 of the week, but had some video content out as well. Hope you've managed to check that out. Thanks for your comments as well on that last video. Yeah, we passed the 2-year anniversary of October, so you know the date. Since I was last with you on a stream, so that's what that vid was all about. A few of you have been sharing that about as well, so thank you very much again for that. Right, speaking of good things and ways to help out the channel, you can hit thumbs up on this stream and it gives it a boost on the old algorithm. You can also give us a share across your social media, either this stream or other content. Say, this is what I'm watching and it's shit's hot. You should watch it as well. No, do appreciate the support. Yeah, a bit of a pessimistic poll that I do have up. If there is to be any kind of ceasefire announced whilst I'm on stream. This is still to be ratified. But it looks as though, well, celebrations have already begun. Perhaps prematurely, we'll see. But should it go through, will it last? And it's only based on reputation. A previous ceasefire, which didn't last very long, and it's, yeah, a bit pessimistic to look at it that way, I guess. But there is at least a pause, potentially a pause. Yeah, I will get onto that, plus other things in the stream. I'll tell you a bit more about that in a moment, but for now, I'd like to say thank you to all the members on the channel. It looks as though anybody whose membership was up for renewal since I was last on stream has sustained their membership, which has been awesome to see. It really is important that people renew the memberships, and thanks for the gifted memberships as well. Solidari-Tea. And thanks for recent super thanks and the super chats as well. There's coffees people have bought us Buy Me a Coffee. On our Buy Me a Coffee page, I should say. You can check out the link for that in the description. Thanks again, everybody. what's coming up then? Of course, I'll be keeping my left eye on the latest news surrounding the ceasefire. Just turn the background music down a bit. A few bits about that as well, talking about the coverage of it so far as well. Regular viewers will know that I have my gripes with certain mainstream outlets here in the UK. Yeah, a few bits from UK politics to bring you as well, some positive stuff. There's been another increase in Green Party membership, so I'll be talking about that, as well as your party now seem to have gotten going with their rallies across the country. And they're in the northwest here today. They're in Liverpool. I wasn't there, unfortunately. Both Zara Sultana and Jeremy Corbyn were on the panel, as well as others, so just a bit more about a potential left-wing surge, ongoing and upcoming, I should say. Plus I've got something that's going to illustrate and highlight just how much that's actually in full effect. People are still getting sick of Labour, and I think it's just about finished by now. The Tory conference was ongoing. Their swan song, when Kemi Badenoch got on stage, it's my pleasure to speak to you as one of the last leaders of the Conservative Party. Good. That's a very good thing as far as I'm concerned. Right, let's just make sure that this chat's refreshed and up to speed. So far, most of you in the poll looking about as optimistic as I am. But let's hope, let's try and be hopeful. Let's stay positive, people. Floor Snake feeling a little superstitious there. Ah. Okay. Nothing wrong with that. Okay. Just checking on any breaking news. I've got a brief comedy clip lined up. It's a rare repeat, actually, but I'm pretty certain that I played this on an early live stream around a year ago. By the way, this isn't a special live stream, but I was notified recently, apparently, the channel, in terms of its existence, just turned 2 years old. But I might do a special live stream for that. So yeah, that's actually gone by really quickly. Not been doing live streams for 2 years. Started off just as a little side project. Was so busy with other stuff. Anyway, yeah, so where to? We'll save the celebrations for the official official live stream. Right, nothing new on this vault. Nothing announced just yet, okay. Yeah, Trump's announced world peace. Again, a bit prematurely. As Doc points out in the chat, he stopped 7 wars. It's world peace. Yes, apparently 2 years old. Just started off compiling a few news clippings and stuff together on shorts, really. Is how it got going. I can't remember the last time I watched any, or, you know, saw any of the other. I'll probably cringe now, actually. The production values have improved a bit. We're still getting towards the full revamp, but God, I'm just thinking now about when I used to have that. Well, I've still got it, but don't use it anymore. That microphone. Coming to you live from the inside of a old-fashioned metal bin. Or a skip. Judging by audio quality. That wasn't a revelation. The studio is actually in a skip. I'm glad you're liking the quality idiosyncrasy. Thanks for the congratulations there as well. That anniversary. Okay, so this is the comedy clip. If it does look familiar, like I said, I might have played this about a year ago. And it's one from Rathbone, who's got a great channel. Go and subscribe. Fellow YouTuber. So I guess you could call this old but gold. It's not that old, it's only a year old.
Beheaded babies! Beheaded babies? Where? Over there! Can we see them? No, it's too painful. Okay, we understand your pain. Just tell us one thing. What were their names? They didn't have names. Well, did you notify the parents? Yes. Can we speak to the parents? We're like pretty sure they didn't have any parents. But you just said, no, Amalek. Wait, how does that make sense? Oh my God, we don't know. Are you gonna have a funeral for them? We can't hold a funeral for them, it's too expensive. Well, what about honoring their memory in a memorial service? Im Yisrael Chai! Can we just see, like, the pictures of the bodies? I'm late for prayer. Look, it's been over 15 months. I'm beginning to think that there might not be any beheaded babies. Oh, so that's what this is about. About what? You hate the Jews!
Marvellous as always. Rathbone. Rathbone. Certainly worth a follow if that's new to you. Might have got the date mixed up there on that vid. But I love the way he's wiping the tears away with dollar bills. Yeah, and he's a really good sociologist as well. It's does serious bits as well as comedy bits. Which is a pretty good mix, I think. Yeah, I've not had Rathbone on for a while, so good to catch up with him. I do have another comedy clip for later in the stream. But I know you're all comfortably positioned and you're going to be with us for a while. So let's go over to the live feed now. Did just have a quick look earlier and nothing's changed since I came to you on stream. Still discussions. Most people think it will be agreed to by the Israeli government. People like Smotrich don't want this, you know, the ultra right and these people, if you can barely call them people, they certainly don't have any humanity, but they're dead against it. I'm just stultified by how the demand can be made that they expect a country that, bearing in mind, although its government does have a militant wing, does not have a national army, navy, air force. I've said this several times. But having faced such oppression, not just in the last 2 years, but for decades, and then to expect them to agree to essentially leave themselves like sitting ducks. Not only agreeing to disarm, that is, for Hamas to disarm and disband and not be involved in the government, but also that any government that comes after this technocratic quagmire soup that's apparently on the horizon, but after that, not allowed the means to defend themselves at all. Yeah, that's taking the piss. It's gone quiet in the back. There we go. Just move this slightly that way. So there is the new, recently installed, I guess, ambassador, Palestinian ambassador to the UK. Hossam Somlot. So I've got a clip of him in a moment of the Radio 4 interview that part of the article refers to, so I'll just skip past that for now. It's worth a watch, but it is a pleasure to actually say that the official ambassador of the state of Palestine. And this is another turn up for the books. Was it even a fortnight ago, about 3 weeks ago, when the state of Palestine was officially recognised by a series of countries, including the UK. Israel decried it, as did the United States as well, in unison, in tandem, together. And Trump especially himself said this would never happen, it should not happen, and echoed Netanyahu's sentiments that it was rewarding terror and so on. And now, all of a sudden, he says he thinks, referring to a Palestinian state, I think we will get to that, he says. I think we will get to that. Does he mean who's we? The United States of America? Graham, you're trying to super chat, but your phone's not recognising your fingerprint. Well, that is some high-tech, well, it's reasonably moderate tech for 2025. But perhaps have you inadvertently changed your identity? What could be the reason for this? This is some Mission Impossible stuff going on. Have you checked? I do have a particularly elaborate explanation. I don't know if you want to entertain it, Graham, but you could perhaps be a victim of the MK Ultra program, and without any memory or recollection whatsoever, you are in fact a double agent and have had to go so far as to temporarily use false fingerprints in your espionage and double dealings. Perhaps that could be it, I don't know. Just check if you can actually, I don't mean peel your skin off, of course, but just check if there's anything on the tip, I don't know. But thanks for the effort nonetheless. Hope you can resolve that tech issue. And it's people like this who are trying to bring, not you, Graham, I'm referring to Ben-Gvir here. It's awful. Just, I don't know. It's not just who he is as a fascist maniac, psycho. There's something about the way he talks and he presents himself and carries himself, I should say, that particularly irks me as well. Well, here's what it's about. So people like Ben-Gvir, Smotrich, these other, I struggle. I mean, I know quite a few adjectives, it's got to be said, descriptive people. But these bastards, they won't be satisfied until literally anyone who has been a member of Hamas, now or ever, is eradicated, taken out, killed, essentially, is what I'm saying. That is one of the only things that will satisfy them. It's just so unrealistically fantastical, you know, how you spoke, you know. Perhaps they imagine chasing someone down in the street in one moment, and they turn around and say, don't shoot me, I'm the last one. Like, how are you going to know when the last? But it's a nonsense. We know it's a nonsense. Their bloodlust is genuine, and that's why this is a nonsense, because if they are constantly seeking an unachievable aim, then here presto, perpetual war, perpetual genocide. And Smotrich, Ben-Gvir et al. Won't be satisfied until every single civilian in Palestine is either killed or displaced. That's the way they think. That is the way they think. 100%. These people are narcissistic psychopaths, sociopaths. Certainly. Not the kind of mentality that should really be backed by anyone with any power whatsoever. But of course, when you've got the United States of America behind you, you tend to get away with a lot more than other countries. Speaking of which, even as we're waiting on the news for this meeting, there are still airstrikes being carried out in Gaza. More than 40 people are trapped under the rubble and 2 women have been rescued so far. Israel's public broadcaster Kan, make your own puns for now, they've cited a military source saying that an attack on a residential building in Gaza City was aimed at the structure where, quote, activity against IDF forces was detected. They've got a big bank of monitors, and then a red light flashes on, of course. Activity against IDF forces detected, comes the robotic voice across the tannoy, and a crosshair appears on the screen. Again, more Mission Impossible stuff. I'm not suggesting that Graham was involved with any of this. Graham, you've checked and you've got new skin. This is it. Well, incredible. I didn't explain what the MK Ultra program was. You can look that up for yourself. Don't want to say that it might have anything to do with certain recent events. But moving back to the article. Yeah, don't buy that for a second. Israel's excuse. But a senior Hamas figure, Khalil al-Hayya, says he's received guarantees from the United States and mediators involved in talks with Israel that the war has completely ended. Guarantees and ended being the standout words in that sentence, but in his statement he says the agreement includes a permanent ceasefire, the withdrawal of Israeli troops, and the entry of humanitarian aid and the reopening of the Rafah crossing. I heard earlier the latest on the aid situation, that is. There is enough on the border now to feed the entire population for 3 months. That's how much it's been held back. That's how much of a damning negative effect this blockade has had on Gaza. 3 months. 3 months. That's shameful. That is shameful. Only a very, very, very small amount gets in at the moment, and it's very difficult to tell how much of that is actually getting through to the once it's through as well. That doesn't mean that it can't get hijacked by occupiers. So that is apparently going to exponentially increase. Also, a hostage exchange, or captive exchange as it's described here on the BBC, which he's, in terms of reporting on this, that is, 250 people serving life sentences and 1,700 detained. So, again, you look at the numbers on balance, It's almost, well, the number of people serving life sentences is 250. The number of hostages that were taken, 251. I want to re-emphasise, I dispute that 251 figure, because some of those would have been prisoners of war. And Israel, in fact the whole Western media, are continuing to describe, I'm not saying that there aren't civilian hostages, but Israel are counting military hostages as civilian. But of course, if you're a military hostage, you're known as a prisoner of war. Or prisoner of occupation is the right term. So 1,700 detainees. And that is just since October 7th. Thousands and thousands more since before this happened, of course. Say it with me, people. This didn't begin on October 7th. He adds that, adds that Hamas is in the process of completing the remaining stages of the agreements. That's the scene in Gaza. Explosions seen. It says. Unfortunately, that will carry on. Mentioned earlier on social media that it will probably still be ongoing whilst the pen that signs the agreement is running across the paper, you know. And while the ink is still drying, I would expect. I'm just trying to have a quick look before I go on to the clip I mentioned. Though I might take a look while the clip's playing. It was the proposed map of where the IDF will withdraw to under the proposal. But I'll come back to that in a bit. There's just a couple of things I want to mention about that proposal. So for now, we'll hear from the ambassador of the State of Palestine. This is his interview on BBC Radio 4 from earlier on today.
Well, let's turn now to the view from the Palestinian authorities. Hossam Zomlot is the Palestinian ambassador to the United Kingdom. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon, Sarah. Thank you for having me.
Well, it's good to have you on the programme. What's your reaction? How are you feeling about today's news?
Well, this is a much-needed reprieve, a sigh of relief, if you may, Sarah, from a genocide that has devastated our people in Gaza, and by the way, by extension, a silent genocide in the West Bank, and for 2 years now in real time, and we welcome it. We absolutely welcome it as a first step towards a new future. This ceasefire comes too late for thousands of our people, Sarah, for more than 20,000 children, too late for tens of thousands of innocent people, too late for the almost total destruction of the Gaza Strip. But it is not too late to shape a different future, a future of justice and peace.
And the deal, as we understand it, is at the moment, is really just for the first phase.
Yes.
Is that right to sort of, because there's obviously there's a huge amount to be settled for the second phase, for whether Hamas will disarm, whether the IDF will pull back from the 40% that they're expected to move to from this. Is it fine to get this stage done and agreed before you then move on to that next step?
No, it's not fine. What we need absolutely is a commitment by all involved, including the international community, beginning with the US and President Trump, for an end of the war on Gaza, an end of this genocidal aggression altogether, and a withdrawal of the Israeli occupation forces.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. Because now so many countries have recognised the state of Palestine, collectively, we have to turn around and essentially say, look, we're not fucking about here. If you break the agreement this time, then we're going to be talking boots on the ground or an international effort, a combined military effort to uphold the ceasefire. Not a single shell or a single bullet should be fired across that border. And I believe that's the only way. I think that's the only way. Unfortunately, we've learned so many times in the past that you can't rely on Israel, if left to its own devices, to uphold any agreement. This not even being the first ceasefire that has happened in the last 2 years. Again, we're going back over decades as a country. And if recent patterns are also set to repeat, I just want to very quickly point this out. You see, in the past, including during the last ceasefire, when Israel don't get the fill, as it were, of maniacal, psychopathic, genocidal warmongering, they turn to Lebanon. And last time there was a ceasefire in Gaza, they turned to the West Bank, Lebanon. They might perhaps start to attack Iran again, because they just can't stop. Netanyahu just can't stop. Some people call this a war on 7 fronts, as it were. And that's because they are the agents provocateurs in this Israel. Have started this by attacking all of the neighbours. And if you're going to take one out of the equation, that's only going to intensify in the others. I think, unfortunately, is one of the outcomes that we're going to see in the short-term future, if any ceasefire is agreed to. Just going by reputation, of course. But thank you very much as well to Graham Turner. Glad you got things sorted, the fingerprint problem. Just going to show that some appreciation, that's all, please. Big up Graham in the chat. Okay. Dealing with there's a new layout on YouTube Studio. Just been getting the handle of it. I didn't know that it had changed until before I just came onto the stream now. I'm getting some sort of notifications that you didn't used to get before. I'll look into that a bit later. Let's hear more from Dr. Zomlot.
Sarah, we have experience with Netanyahu. It's very clear. He reneges, he looks for loopholes. He doesn't want to end this. He's just maneuvering everybody. So this is not a time to relax. This is a time to keep the pressure and to realize this moment came because of the steadfastness and resilience of our people and the advocacy of our people, together with the Arab world and the Muslim world and its leadership, and the pressure from the global movement for Palestine that made President Trump listen to the plea of the conscience of the world. So today we need to keep that momentum and that pressure so the unhinged Netanyahu is brought to compliance.
And one of the elements, of course, is Hamas disarming. Are you confident?
Yeah, whatever. Are Hamas going to disarm? Look, he's literally talking about bringing a war criminal to heel in court in The Hague, that justice will be done. And we're talking about the most serious crimes that you can possibly charge an individual person with on the scale of things. Bring up, whatever serial killer you like. Those are rookie numbers where people like Benjamin Netanyahu are concerned, and other genociders, and just okay. It's supposed to be a serious interview with an official state ambassador. This isn't some call-in show, or the Wild West of the darkest corners of this platform or others. We're talking about our state broadcaster, the license payer-funded broadcaster, speaking to an official, and just skip over points about what should be serious main focus, the nucleus perhaps of the discussion now, because any talk of a ceasefire has got to include accountability post-occupation, post-genocide. So this is the dreaded time. The chips are coming down. Perhaps the hens are coming home to roost now where that's concerned. But no, just forget about that. Are Hamas gonna disarm? Are they gonna leave themselves, like sitting ducks? I'm using quite a few avian analogies in this section. I do understand. But I'm not afraid to do that. I'm no chicken. Very poor. My point is, just to jump to that question, how can you reasonably ask any country to leave themselves as... would you ask the United States of America to disarm? Would you ask Israel to disarm? The actual oppressors, would you ask them to disarm? Or even at least just get rid of the nukes? Nuclear weapons, which they own outside of the non-proliferation agreement, by the way. You're talking about a group with Hamas that has makeshift weapons most of the time. When they actually attacked 2 years ago, it was on beat-up vehicles. Improvised. We're not talking about production lines, mass manufacturing of weaponry or things like this. In terms of small arms, any that they do manage to get their hands on is probably going to be Soviet era rifles and so on and so forth. And focus on Israel if you're going to talk about disarmament, for God's sake.
And that they will sign up to that if all the other elements can be agreed.
Well, there was talks in Sharm el-Sheikh, as the world has followed, and there are several points of the discussion, and I believe everybody agreed, including Hamas, that Gaza will be governed by a Palestinian technocratic government linked to the central Palestinian government, that the Gaza and the West Bank is one.
Okay, but
Tony Blair can just... I'm going to just cut straight to it. He can just straight up fuck off. He shouldn't be anywhere near this. Western leaders have decided who's going to run your country for you. No, absolutely not. And certainly not the likes of Tony Blair. Give me a break. You might as well get Mandy in there, for fuck's sake.
That's a different answer to the question I was asking, which is that do you, and you're not, do you believe, do you trust that Hamas will, for its part of this deal, agree to be disarmed?
I trust that Palestine must be governed, provided for by one state, one government, one law, and one gun.
Right, and in terms of, that may involve, from what you're saying, the fact that you're not answering, that may involve Hamas, do you think, in the future?
She's really pressing it, isn't she? Okay, imagine another scenario that Putin and Zelensky were having talks, and Putin genuinely, without a hint of irony, asked Ukraine to lay down its weapon, permanently disarm, no, nothing. Do you not think the entire world will be up in arms? This is ludicrous.
The Palestinian legitimate government is the PLO, and the PLO has its commitment to the international community and has its bilateral commitment to other parties and actors.
Sorry, just answering a question in the chat there about what kind of weapons they might have. Maybe for rifles, you're talking about Kalashnikovs, 47s. In terms of incendiary devices, we're talking about homemade, improvised, tube stuff, pipe stuff. Very, basic. It doesn't, what they're using won't have serial numbers on it, things like that. From what I understand. And sticks and stones and sharp sticks.
And at one point, and there is a commitment that in 1 year after the end of genocide, hopefully that time begins today, in 1 year we will convene in national elections and the Palestinian people will be able to elect their leaders and their legitimate representatives.
Hussein Zomlot, thank you very much for joining us.
So he's optimistic, he's hopeful. I think we've all got to try and be as well in all this. The latest on the poll, not very optimistic, as predicted, I guess. 80% saying 1 to 3 weeks is how long the ceasefire will last. 20% 1 to 3 months, not a single vote for any longer than that. Keep you posted with that. But I did mention justice, retribution in that part. Perhaps we could see the early signs of some. I think this was announced yesterday. But Giorgia Meloni of Italy is actually the first European leader to be charged with complicity in Israel's war crimes. I'm going to see what's happening. Got a report here from a channel called Pulse. If you want to check, because this isn't going to be, breaking on the beeb.
Italian Prime Minister Giorgia Meloni has been named in a complaint to the International Criminal Court for complicity in genocide. Meloni made this revelation herself during an interview with an Italian TV channel. On Tuesday, the Italian leader said that she, along with Defense Minister Guido Crosetto and Foreign Minister Antonio Tajani, have been denounced in an ICC court filing for Italian government's arms tie-up with Israel amid the latter's continuing military offensive in Gaza. The complaint was filed on October 1st. Around 50 people signed the court complaint, including several law professors, lawyers, and several public figures. All signatories accused Giorgia Meloni and others of complicity by supplying arms to Israel. The complaint calls on ICC to assess the possibility of opening a formal investigation into the charge of genocide against Meloni. A part of the ICC court filing reads, and I quote, "By supporting the Israeli government, particularly through the supply of lethal weapons, the Italian government has become complicit in the ongoing genocide and the extremely serious war crimes and crimes against humanity committed against the Palestinian people." While Italy's government stands accused of armed support to Israel, the situation on ground revealed swelling support for Palestinians. Major Italian cities have witnessed regular pro-Palestinian rallies calling for a ceasefire in Gaza and an end to the war-induced crisis in the enclave.
Yeah, even before this was announced, she was really under it in Italy because they refused to officially recognise the state of Palestine. Then officially tried to placate the masses by sending a boat to the Flotilla, but that abandoned its escort the day before it was intercepted by the IDF. That was how it was scheduled, so it was a bit of a hollow gesture, really, in the end. And all the while, the unions, pretty much every union in Italy, has shut down the country. A general strike has been in effect for some time. That was triggered by the initial attacks on 11 boats on the flotilla. And the unions vowed to start the strike if they were attacked at all, and they've followed through on that. And that was, like I said, all before this. So, well, she's got to go. She's got to resign now. 100%. When you named in an ICC report the general strike, it's just the country is now completely ungovernable. The people have risen up. The people have taken over. They're doing well. We saw the footage, was it on the last stream, of them coming up the escalator with their umbrellas, and that guy there just launching himself forward, and just absolute, like, fucking Zorro, but with an umbrella. Bravo, bene.
Just last week, Italy went on a nationwide strike protesting Israel's interception of the global Samad flotilla, which tried to break the siege of Gaza.
Pulse there, bit of a random source. Okay, people. Another clip for you in a moment. Again, something that should be all over the news, mainstream news, but isn't. And before that though, please make sure you've hit thumbs up on the stream. If you're just joining us, I do appreciate that. Bella ciao ciao indeed. And I think I mentioned on the last stream, actually, know someone, not a very close friend, but someone from the north, fellow JSO supporter, who's on the flotilla, illegally kidnapped. But get this, people, when you consider, as is going to be mentioned in the clip, in other countries, those aboard the flotilla have been given a hero/heroines/they/thems welcome. How are theirs? I'll work on that. But in the UK, when Hannah returned, she was detained and questioned by the authorities. Yes, having been through what she has in Israel, having bravely sailed for many days, risking her life, she finally gets home and that's how she's received, that's how she's welcomed. I think it's absolutely, utterly shameful. And I've got a clip here. This isn't... I didn't do the clip or the interview, just want to point out. But she describes what happened, and I'm sure you'll agree it's absolutely shameful. This should be all over the place. Where's Mr. Former Director of Public Prosecutions when you need him? Yeah, not only failing to speak out against their illegal kidnapping in the first place, but then to treat them like this when they get back. Take a look for yourselves, people.
Hannah.
Yeah, I'm
Hey, Hannah!
Hi. It's great to be out at last. The police finally let me go.
Thank you for everything you do.
Yeah,
You're
yeah,
awesome.
yeah.
Oh, we're
Thank
so
you for the
pleased.
welcome, because I had a shit welcome from Border Force.
No,
But thank you so much for giving us a welcome.
No, welcome,
Yeah.
Hannah.
We were made so welcome in Jordan when we were released from the Israelis who kidnapped us.
Yeah.
And then we came back to this country, and we were held up by Border Force because one of my friends made the guard feel uncomfortable. Apparently, they took all our passports away, and then they held me on a flimsy, on a nothing. Yeah, they just kept me there for 2 hours for no reason. Yeah.
Horrible people.
But it's nice to be out now,
No,
and it's nice to finally feel welcome to be home.
Yeah.
It's nice to finally feel welcome to be home.
How do you feel about the government in this country not really commenting on your case?
I'll tell you what, I feel like the government in this country is disgusting. You know, I was on a boat with 2 Colombian women. Yesterday in Jordan, they were welcomed by the ambassador. The ambassador came and welcomed them out, and then they're going home to Colombia, where they're going to be given a Medal of Honor by their president. And we come back here, and we're like held up by the Border Force while they investigate whether we're terrorists or not. And then I get held on a trumped up false allegation of breaking a bail condition, which I'm not, and I haven't been. And it's just like an excuse, any excuse to try and make people feel intimidated. This country condones genocide. This country is complicit in genocide, in the genocide in Gaza, and it's about time they were held to account.
Obviously, they didn't arrest you in the end. So did they actually apologize to you before they released you?
They told me they were going to give me the benefit of the doubt. I don't think that was an apology. It didn't feel like one.
That's shameful.
Welcome home, Hannah.
Thank you.
for
Thank
everything
you.
you did. Thank you for
you.
everything you do.
Thank you.
Can I just get sorry, just because I'm aware that
Yep.
otherwise
Let's walk in.
It's nice to be home anyway. Yeah. But it's nice to
Very
see some.
good to
It's
have you.
nice to see some friendly faces, and thank you all for waiting so long for us. Yeah. Yeah.
It's the least we could have done.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
Sticking the camera in your face as well.
Yeah. Yeah.
real heroes. You sacrifice what very few people can sacrifice, honestly.
5 weeks, 6 weeks.
Yeah, we're not sacrificing compared to the people in Gaza though.
Off all our landscape, pick a aspect.
Done. You changed the
Okay,
direction again on the nobody
I
can
hope
forget
so.
you.
I hope so.
really
Yeah.
have.
That's I just.
sorry to I am using the clip, by the way. It's just I'll rotate that again. Where I've paused it. I'll just go back a bit. Okay, there we go. So in surprisingly good spirits, having gone through all of that, such resilience can only be admired. And again, yeah, brings shame on this country to treat people like that. It really does. It really does. MIDI doctors, the UK is shit. Yeah, that was probably one of the questions as well. Sneaky fish. Did they have a license for that opposition to genocide? Graham Turner, thanks for throwing up the Palestine flags. Viva Viva Palestina. Good to see Hannah back, but appalled by the way that she was treated. I believe 4 of them, 4 people returned. It was mentioned the other day as well. Starmer wants to crack down, air quotes, crack down on certain chants being used at certain protests, I think. We know the kind that he's referring to. Defend our juries and so on. Such times that we're living. They're that desperately thin-skinned. Yeah, and next to zero Flotilla coverage. Whilst we're on the topic of the coverage, I was watching some of the P.O.V live feed earlier surrounding the ceasefire, and I noticed this cycle that was happening, and it just sums up their whole narrative, their whole rhetoric in the reporting on this in the last couple of days. So, for example, they'll do an interview and speak to one of the family members of one of the remaining 20 hostages, and then they'll cut across, whilst that interview is happening over the phone, to the live feed of this so-called hostage square, where there's a stage being set up, and apparently there's going to be some sort of concert that probably started a short time ago. And then back to the studio, and they'll talk about the hostages again and get some sort of spokes on. And when they ask them how optimistic they are about the ceasefire being upheld, without interruption or mention of precedent or reputation, they'll allow them to imply that it's more likely that Hamas will break the agreement. Oh well, we'll see, but of course, you know, they broke the agreement last time. Every accusation being a confession, of course. So then that happens, they'll go back then to the square again, to the concert being set up, and then briefly mention, oh, some of the Gazans might be happy about this because, you know, some of them have been a bit displaced or something in the last couple of years. But anyway, now we've got another family member of one of the hostages, and then repeat. That's what I noticed. Just taking a quick look, still no significant announcements. But one last bit on the Flotilla, just before I do move on to something else. I was wondering if perhaps now might be a really good time to launch another one. What do you think about that? Although an official aid corridor would become open, and apparently, you know, the 3 months worth that's on the border, that would perhaps just be a drop in the ocean. By the way, the secondary one that followed the Flotilla has, like its predecessor, all members have been captured now, but still not released. I think that was the last that I heard about that. If you know different, let me know in the chat. But that was the one that set off the day after the capture of the Flotilla. Just loading up another couple of bookmarks here. We're going to cover some UK politics now. Hopefully, something to feel good about. Which does make a change for reasons we just mentioned. So still a long way from the next general election, but it does seem that change of one description or another is certainly in the air. Politically, where political parties are concerned specifically, and as we all know, a shift away from the so-called legacy parties, Tories, now practically reduced to nothing, and Labour set to follow. Unfortunately, this, according to polls, would mean Reform UK winning the most seats at the next general election, but perhaps not, because there's also another massive push coming from the left, which is, again, fantastic to see, and if coordinated and done properly, could really have a significant impact on the next election. So let's see what's happening. First of all, like I said, we've got reasons to be optimistic. I think a few days ago I mentioned the Green Party surpassing 80,000 members, and they really are on a run at the moment. Zach Polanski's hit the ground running, and that's now gone up to 95,000 members. So massive surge for them. But not just that, people. Take a look at this. A huge poll where the Green Party concerned. And look at this momentous surge. Another one from Stats for Lefties. But just 2% behind Labour and the Tories, who'd both be tied on 17 now. If you would like further illustration of just how sick, like I said, people are getting of the legacy parties, then there it is. Up 8% to 15%. Labour dropping 18%. That's halving the vote share. Tories down 7%, and I think there's still more to come. For reasons I'll get onto in just a moment. So there you see as well, actually, I think it was a bit further down here. Oh yes, the seats, that was what I was going to get into, which actual seats they could get if they go up as predicted by 9, which would be quite incredible. So 2 seats in Brighton, 3 seats in Bristol, Cambridge, Huddersfield, Leeds Central, 2 seats here in Manchester, Rusholme and Withington. So Rusholme, very diverse part of Manchester, student population. There's the Curry Mile as well, for example, the so-called famous Curry Mile of Rusholme, and then a bit further away from the city centre to the south, Withington as well. So 2 seats pretty much back to back geographically there. So it looks like they're having a massive impact. Also North Herefordshire, Sheffield Central and Waveney Valley. So central seats in both Sheffield and Leeds looks like Zach's having an impact. Not just in Greater Manchester, but also in Yorkshire. We're going to vote for Zach. And they are just pretty much owning all of Bristol if that happens. Yeah, wow, quite impressive. So that's a seat share. Also worthy of note in that poll, Independents / Workers' Party of Britain would gain 8 seats, up to 13, which would put them on par, equal, that is, with the Greens. And that is without factoring in, of course, your party, which have now finally started to kick into gear a little bit after the shaky start. With these rallies going on across the country, they've got the national first conference happening where they were today, in Liverpool. I'm not sure if it's the same venue, but the same city. Yeah, and My Left Eye are going to be down there in some coverage. Knock wood, might be able to get a couple of juicy interviews. We'll see, get the old contact book out. But yeah, today, Zara Sultana and Corbyn were at this thing in Liverpool, where I'm sure that they're going to be well received. I think in terms of seats, when we see your party, whatever it's going to be called, start to appear on polls. Hopefully, the Greens can continue to surge as well, but this will just continue, hopefully, to take votes away from the Tories, Labour and, of course, Reform. So we're just another swing of a couple of percent, and we'll be saying that it's Labour who are actually splitting the left vote, because you can't say that there hasn't been an appetite for proper socialist policies now based on this. Especially when you consider Zach Polanski's speech at the conference with some really, decriminalisation of Class A drugs, this, well, what you might call a controversial issue, certainly one that the British press would react to as well. Nationalisation, of course, taxing the rich, of course, still massive appetite for that. So, the way that I see it, with the disenchantment with Labour and the Tories, obviously, referendum, if the polls are correct, appear to have taken the opportunity, seized the moment, and filled that space, filled that void on the right. And now Zach Polanski's doing the same for anybody who feels misrepresented or unrepresented, I should say, on the left. And let's be honest, socialists have been unrepresented for some time. In terms of governance, certainly during my lifetime. Time for a change, and I think Polanski, even if you just want to talk strategy, has played an absolute blinder here. Just moving away from policies for a moment. The timing of this, I think, has been really well thought out, but also what the Greens and your party alike, I think, should be doing now is anticipating the devastating autumn winter budget that's going to be coming out soon. And that's where the opportunity for another swing lies. I mean, imagine you might see, potentially, say, Labour dropping down to 15, 14%, and that could potentially lead to the Green Party pushing towards 20%. And I don't think this is just a sort of temporary trend. I think what he's been saying since he became leader has been music to a lot of people's ears. I don't think you'd have seen this kind of reaction if Adrian Ramsay and Ellie Chowns had won the leadership race. I do have to say. Also, I think that your party are going to try and not challenge, but sort of match how bold they are with their policy. In fact, just a moment, might take a quick look on the Twitter. Always Twitter, never X. I was just skimming through earlier, and I think I did see some sort of announcement about policy, and I thought, well, that does actually make sense. Because they need to go bold and go fast if they're going to keep up with Zelensky. And also that's what a lot of people would be hoping, or would have been hoping, from when this party was announced that it was going to be a thing, you know, they don't want people who drag their feet. Yeah, I was just taking a quick look through the Twitter there. I can't remember what the policy was. I don't think I imagined it though. I might get back to you on that one. But what do you think about all this? Just like I said there, about the push that's needed when this autumn budget comes out. It's going to be terrible. It's going to be awful. If there was anything to shout about in the next budget, then believe me, Rachel Reeves would be screaming it from the rooftops with her annoyingly monotone nasal voice. Sorry, my favourite parody of Rachel Reeves is coming up at the end of the stream. The Noreen Skinner. Spoiler alert. She did another great one the other day. Rachel Reeves. Rachel. Noreen Skinner does it better than I do, believe me. Where was our people? Yeah, let me know in the chat. In the polls at least, and we have to remind ourselves, you do have to take them with a pinch of salt. Not exactly sure that Reform are that far ahead in, you know, if there was an election held today, we'd have to see. But just in terms of polls alone, can the Greens get their noses, heads, can they get daylights between themselves and the Labour Party? Interesting. Because that does, of course, what we just saw, put them in front of Lib Dem. And it was only recently that I had a poll up on a stream asking if he thought that that could happen. And now, if the polls are correct, of course, that seems to have passed already. Specs Bean Farmer, welcome to the stream. Fulmar Music as well. Yeah, Erin Gray's with us too. As I'm just checking that the chat's all up to speed. Personally though, I'm going to stick my neck out. I'm going to say that it can be done. I think that we will see a poll in the not too distant future where the Greens, okay, potentially, I'll give a bit of a handicap here, I guess. A supportive one, but say the Green Party and your party and Independents / Workers' Party of Britain combined can get more, and eventually I might whittle that down to just the Greens. In fact, no. Yeah. Fuck it. I'll say that the Greens can go ahead of Labour in the polls. Just the Greens. Certainly. That combination I mentioned. Because I do think Workers' Party of Britain could stealth a few more, if you know what I mean. The sort of... Where Lib Dem have sort of been the stealthy party on the up, where the right's concerned. I think you want to say, if anybody's mirroring that, then it's probably Workers' Party of Britain on the left. For example, I think Andrew Feinstein is still representing Workers' Party of Britain, isn't he? He's up against Starmer in St Holborn St Pancras. That was a hot seat last time around. It's going to be a absolutely red hot seat this time. And if you want some of my other super early predictions, although these aren't going to be, official just yet, Streeting's going to go as well. Probably add, there's a few others, obvious others as well. David Lammy, but I think you can now add Angela Rayner to that list. And she's been brought up again, and what was it this time? It was something around husband, partner, boyfriend, whatever, using a taxpayer-funded car that's, 80 grand's worth of vehicle. Could happen. But they're super early predictions, like I said. Well, people, we have something breaking just now, and we're going to go back. I hope I've not deleted the bookmark. No, I've not. Back to the live feed, because just a couple of minutes ago, in fact, Israeli ministers have approved the hostage release deal. That is what it says. Netanyahu, his office, have put out a statement. The government has just approved the framework for the release of all the hostages, both living and deceased. So it's gone through. It's gone through. Let's bring that up. There you see it. Wow. Yeah, just a few minutes ago, like I said. Dozens in it. So this... Dozens? I thought there was supposed to be some big-ass concert there. And there's literally just dozens there. I mean, I'm not saying... I've been in crowds of dozens, but... I was expecting it to look like, hundreds, thousands of people at this concert anyway. So what's this going to set in motion? Does that mean... See, it's not very clear at the moment as to whether it's been agreed that Hamas will disarm. It's not been clear about other things as well. Especially governance and things like this, if they are going to step out of government. The thing earlier that I wanted to mention as well about the map, this proposed map. So that would see the IDF withdrawing back from approximately 50% of Gaza. That is, if you look at Gaza vertically parallel to the Mediterranean Sea to the left, that is away from the sea to the east. And I noticed on a map that I saw earlier, that is apparently the official proposition, that would include every city with the exception of Rafah, which is closest to the border, of course, which it sort of struck me as odd. Why Rafah specifically, when every other city, or perhaps, I mean, you know, we use the word city now, but these are places without any even basic infrastructure, working facilities. It's only in terms of their former geographical size, etc., that you can refer to them as cities. These are huge wastelands that stretch for kilometres without interruption, unfortunately. Including Gaza City, which is at least 6,000 years old. That is the earliest reference that is known of Gaza City is 6,000 years old. Unbelievable. Personally, I think they should withdraw to where they were in 1967. Some would argue even the 1948 borders, which I don't think is, you have to take into account this being decades later, population rises, etc. I'm not sure about that. And I know that I'm not alone in that, because I've heard several representatives at the United Nations recently mention that at the General Assembly in New York. So no detail, but it does appear to have been agreed to, where disarmament, removal from government of Hamas is concerned. Still no word, but that did just break a few moments ago. See, it's getting very lively in the chat, just trying to keep up with everything. Some of you say 1967, 1948. Zach Polanski was on on Piers Morgan, was he? I didn't know about that one. He was on QT tonight. I didn't mention that at the top of the stream. I was going to thank everybody for joining me on the stream because I knew that I had competition with Zach Polonsky, but I didn't want to mention it in case you all forgot that he was on and left. Excuse me, God, can't. I've had a bit of a chesty cough for the last week or so, for anybody who hasn't noticed. Sound like an old man. Sorry for any lengthy pauses. I'm still getting to grips with this new layout on YouTube Studio. It's just a couple of things that were throwing me for a second there. And the live preview's really laggy tonight. Chestikov, yes, he's suspiciously Russian, perhaps a double agent. Like alleged Graham, why have I got someone else's fingerprints? How did I get here, Turner? Only joking, Graham. Just to re-emphasise. As far as I know, he's not actually involved with any espionage. Right, let's actually check out that clip I mentioned. The Noreen Skinner, another great one, the Rachel Reeves parody. Check it out. Let's see what's happening, people. Noreen Skinner, N-E-R-I-N-E, Skinner. Go and subscribe.
Tell me, what's the difference between us Conservatives, Labour Party, and the Conservatives? Tell me, what's the difference between us Conservatives, Labour Party, and the Conservative Party?
Not as much as they used to be. It used to be very much the Tories were the party of the businessmen and those with more affluence, and the Labour Party, years ago, they were the party of the working class, the working man. I don't think you can say that so clearly now.
You weren't meant to say that. I've been working quite hard. Do you think I'm working hard at the moment?
Yeah, but not with too many concrete results, I'm afraid.
I don't understand. What's concrete mean?
Well, you're in charge of the economy, and the economy, it's sort of flatlining, and you're trying to get out of it just by taxing your way out of it, instead of growing the economy, where you put taxes on that actually discourage full employment and prosperity.
How do you...
This is a genuine, just to be clear, this is a genuine Vox Pops, and I guess that's how he would speak to Rachel. Well, he is speaking to Rachel Reeves, of course. But taxing, I don't. If he means putting the burden on the poor, then absolutely. But certainly not taxing the rich, as should be. And then just something, say economy. Oh yes, I know the politics.
You do that?
How do you do that? Well,
calculator.
Well, a calculator, and you've got an army of civil servants that are highly qualified in this sort of thing, but they take their steering from the party in power. In other words, yourself.
Right, I need to get a notepad. So, what's your name?
My name is David.
Do you want a job, David?
No, I'm retired quite happily, thank you.
We can always get people back into work. That's what we're doing with the youth.
Yeah, you need to concentrate on the young people. They're the ones that need the jobs.
Well, you know, if we've got to keep trying, and it's all about growth, David.
Absolutely, yeah.
Thank you, David.
Thank you, Rachel. And I might not fully support you, but good luck anyway.
Thank you. I don't know what that means. I thought civil servants were just meant to serve me coffee. Back to business. Would you rather have fingers as sausages or sausages for fingers?
I don't know really, because they both sound the same. It's almost like it's almost a two-way thing. So you're like, so it's sort of like sausages. You sort of eat them while they're on your fingers.
Yeah, you'd
rather...
have to do that like that. Would you be
Yeah.
tempted by? Would you be tempted by your own fingers if you had sausage hands?
No, I wouldn't, because I think I'll just be put off with it. I'll just be put off with it for the rest of my daily living.
So you'd look at yourself and go, oh no.
Yeah, I would, and by having fingers that won't do very much use or any sort of practicality.
Yeah.
I think fingers and hands as a whole probably won't
Catch on.
It won't work.
So you don't suggest that I should have a policy whereby I say that everybody in the town should have now sausages for fingers?
No, not really. I mean, as in, unless you're having a bit of a laugh.
I do like laughing. Ha!
But then you've also got this other way. You got this other side of sausages and fingers. Like, for example, your fingers look like sausages, so there's that as well.
Good for Halloween, but maybe not. What about if you had the sausages and then they are fingers? So that's the alternative. When you eat a sausage, it looks like a finger.
Well, I wouldn't like to be smelling sausages while I'm doing my work.
It's like walking into the kitchen at a party at 3 a.m. There's just 2 guys left.
Well, or while I'm doing an everyday routine throughout my life, I'll be pretty much bothered by it and probably quite starving all the time.
Maybe I'm going to take it into number 10 and say, here, kids, packed lunch for you. And it's just fingers, but they're sausages. Would that be a funny prank?
Probably not. It might not work.
Oh, well, I'll just keep trying.
All you can do is keep trying.
Sorry, King Charles. Tell me.
Noreen Skinner. That got quite surreal at the end. Yeah. Go and check her out. YouTube, Twitter, Instagram, TikTok, whoever owns that this week. In fact, no, not TikTok, because it's now owned by a Zionist. Don't do TikTok. Whatever. Check her out on YouTube. Something else worth checking out, and I'm plugged this quite a bit so far, but it has got underway. The World Transformed in Manchester. Going to play the promo again. I'm going to be down there myself, so I'm going to be bringing you some content from the festival. I'm going to be having a chat with a few friends of mine down there. So you're going to hear from organisers, people who are getting involved Yeah, and it's going to be great. There's a lot to do, a lot to see. Entertainment as well. It's not all politics, as you're about to see. But do encourage anybody who's in the area to get to Hume this week and check out the World Transformed, this great 4-day festival, which is just kicking off now. So
this October, something big is coming to Manchester. Across 4 packed days, Hume will turn into a national hub for radical ideas, culture and action. Workshops, assemblies, training and real strategy for the struggles we face right now. Solidarity with Palestine, fighting gentrification, organising our workplaces and building political power. But it's not just politics, it's music, art, exhibitions and the kind of culture that keeps our movements alive. It's where people from across Britain and beyond come together to debate, to dream and to organise. Something is stirring across the country. From the ashes, a new left is emerging. Sometimes, history needs a push. This is the World Transformed 2025. Be there.
yes, be there. In fact, be here. Come to Manchester. Awesome stuff. I know that a lot of hard work has gone into getting this together, and I'm really looking forward to sharing what's happening with anybody who can't make it. Yes, Doc, lots of radical bees here in Manchester. It's the Manchester symbol. That's the Tories' worst nightmare as well, socialist bees. A big part of that is going to be citizens' assemblies as well. Something I urge everybody to check out, whether in Manchester or not. These are happening all across the country. Several organisations, such as Humanity Project, Assemble, so on and so forth, are getting these citizens' assemblies together. Hopefully we can build a new democracy at both a local and a national level. Something more representative for the 21st century. Do encourage you to check those organisations out, and you might want to get something organised in your own community. Oh, that's another kettle of fish that Aaron, apologies, Gray is bringing up in the chat there. I was actually thinking about that earlier because I've heard opinions in increasing frequency, I should try to say, about this AI bubble. Now, what does that mean? Well, just very briefly, similar to the housing market collapse that happened in 2008, you could be seeing a similar thing in terms of how big a crash it could be with the artificial intelligence market. And this is free market capitalism, people, looking after us all, as always. Great job. It only nearly brings civilization to the brink of collapse every 10 to 15 years, but apart from that, well, it has several other flaws now that I think about it, but other than all of those other flaws, it's not bad. Except that it actually is bad, but if you ignore the fact that it's bad, just be quiet and give a small amount of people all of your money. It's essentially what it gets to. But I have sort of been following this prediction because a lot of money has been pumped into this as the next big thing to invest in, artificial intelligence. Obviously, a huge amount of hype about it. Coming from a lot of people. Now, Elon Musk has been involved with this himself. He has always been outspoken about artificial intelligence and so on and so forth. But it's not just the likes of Musk who've helped to raise this hype, and long story short, a lot of money being invested into an industry that hits a wall or doesn't become the future as quickly as predicted can have a massive impact on economies. So that could be something to potentially keep your eye on. In mentioning climate and things previously on the channel, I probably brought up or referenced a few times at least a great film which I'm sure most of you will have seen, called Don't Look Up, by a great director, Adam McKay, who's actually a supporter of JSO. And he's also done another great film called The Big Short, which I'm sure a lot of you will have seen. But if you haven't, I do suggest that you check that one out if you want analogies of the naivety within capitalist markets about these bubbles and how people can get distracted by greed. But the social impacts, of course, is the main thing to think about, not just the financial downfall of multimillionaires and billionaires. The Big Short, yeah. Really good film. Steve Carell is in that, one of the main characters. Christian Bale as well. Yeah, you got some great performances in there actually. Brad Pitt's in it as well. Yeah, Brad Pitt's in The Big Short. Watch them both. Watch Adam McKay, like really great director, and a really based guy as well. I've had the pleasure of being on, watching him do Zoom talks and such. But we got on a bit of a tangent there. Time for another shout out to all the members on the channel, just as we get towards the end of proceedings, but don't go anywhere, people. And not only do you have to see all of the marvellous members, awesome supporters on the channel, I'm going to be doing a raid, hopefully, a redirect, so stick around for that. Hopefully this new layout hasn't changed the procedure for setting up a raid too much. No, it looks like okay. Good. That was a bit of a curveball. Didn't get an email notification about that, to be honest. Just logged in to come on the streamers. By the way, we've changed the layout. But it's more or less gone as smooth as it could, I hope. But not wood. We haven't had any crashes on tonight's stream, at least. Or for a while since I started this, since I did the whole refurb. Alright, so we've got this space live as well as the surf times in the closing moments of the stream. If anyone has any preference, please do shout out in the chat and I'll lock that in. But wherever we go, and I will be joining you in just a moment, make sure you hit thumbs up and give us a shout out in the chat as well. And make sure you've hit thumbs up on this stream before we part ways. Just a reminder, if you're watching back later on, super thanks are open. There's also a Buy Me a Coffee page, so please do check that out in the description. So yeah, till the next time I see you people, take care. My left eye. We'll be seeing you soon. Free Palestine and power to the people.